Selling an investment property just got a little more challenging for Chicago landlords. I'm talking about the Northwest Side Housing Preservation Ordinance, and if you own investment real estate in Chicago, you need to know about this. Let's start here. What is the ordinance? In September of 2024, the Chicago City Council passed a new ordinance approving a pilot program that would increase the demolition surcharge and establish a tenant right of first refusal in these neighborhoods: Avondale, Hermosa, Humboldt Park, the Lower West Side, Pilsen, Westtown, and Logan Square. The ordinance was sponsored by aldermen representing these neighborhoods with the goal of increasing housing affordability, reducing property taxes for owners, and ensuring less gentrification. Despite realtor engagement and a lot of lobbying of the aldermen, this became an issue of aldermanic prerogative, which, if you've been in Chicago for a while, you know is quite custom in the city council. It also gives the rights to those aldermen to make zoning decisions for their ward. And when an issue is aldermanic prerogative, they usually pass unanimously. This one passed 44-3. The tenant notice portions of the ordinance are going to apply for properties under contract as of March 1st of 2025, but the demolition surcharge is already being enforced. So now you know the background, but before we dive into a little bit more detail, if you're enjoying this content, make sure to hit that follow button, that like button, share this content so we can bring you more of it. Now let's dive into what this means for homeowners and home buyers. There are two main mandates in the new ordinance. The first increases the cost to demolish a property. For a detached house, townhouse, or a two-flat, the cost goes from $15,000 to $60,000. And for a coach house or a multi-unit building, the cost goes from $5,000 per dwelling unit to $20,000 per dwelling unit. For those pulling out your calculators, if a builder wants to tear down a 10-unit building to build something new, that would cost them $200,000. The second mandate in the ordinance is the tenant right of first refusal, which the landlord cannot ask the tenant to waive. Now, this one is a bit more complicated because there are some designated steps. Owners need to formally notify the Department of Housing and all the tenants of their intention to sell the building. They have to do that 30 to 60 days in advance of listing for sale, depending on the number of units. That's the first part. The second part of this is the tenant's right of first refusal. So if the landlord gets an offer from a third party, they're required to bring that offer to the tenants as well as the Department of Housing and notify them. And they have to provide them a copy of that agreement. Wait, what? You heard that right. The private owner now needs to disclose the terms of a private offer to Department of Housing and the tenants. Now, I've been in the real estate industry for 20 years. And I haven't seen a situation like that that wasn't part of an association, right? A townhouse, condo, or a co-op. Interesting. If the building has 5 or more units, the tenants have 90 days from receiving the notice of the other offer to exercise their right to purchase the property. To do this, they have to form a tenant association and follow the steps as outlined in the ordinance. For 4 units or less, the tenants have 15 days. Now, there were some changes made to the ordinance in December that made things a little bit better for landlords. Notably, that tenants now had to show some type of financial ability to purchase the unit. Before, they could have just kept extending their right, transferring it to somebody else, and essentially kept the seller in some type of limbo. So what does this mean for multifamily sales? Remains to be seen a little bit, right? This is a pilot program, hasn't been done before. But here are some of the major concerns from those in the housing industry. First, the fact that a private owner can now not sell their home to whomever they wish. Second, it endangers 1031 exchanges. That's a tax deferment program where you can sell one investment property and turn around and invest that money in another to delay your capital gains. But there's a time frame for that, and these parameters jeopardize that for property owners and for buyers of investment properties under the same tax deferment strategy. That could then cost them more money. Then there's a possibility of diminished value of these properties in the pilot zone. If it's too expensive to purchase and renovate or replace a dilapidated building, will builders still want to buy them? And if they do, the increased costs are likely to be pushed on to home buyers and make housing more expensive, which is in direct conflict to the goals of the ordinance. Lastly, there's now a designated timeline for closings for those tenants purchasing the properties that ranges from 60 to 120 days based on the number of dwelling units. Let's paint a picture though. If a landlord's in a financial distress situation and they need to sell, they need that money, and now they're potentially having to wait up to 6 months, what becomes of them? What happens to them? So in summary, this is the first time I've seen something like this in my career, and time will tell what the impact's going to be. Will those that put forth the ordinance find that it's having success and it's achieving their goals, or will the folks in the housing industry push back and sellers push back on it? We're going to be monitoring it closely and specifically paying attention to the number of sales this year to see if they go down as a result of this ordinance. That's all for today. Thanks for watching.